What's up, guys? I've got Jonathan from JunkQuest with me today. We have been trying to put this one together for a few weeks now. So, really, really excited to have you on board on the channel. I know you're going to have a lot of really good golden nuggets. We've worked together for a long time.
Yes,
Jonathan, if
sir.
you can introduce yourself, let the people know who you are and what you do.
What's up, guys? My name is Jonathan. So I own a junk removal company in the North Dallas area. We service a bunch of the cities here. You've heard of like Plano, Frisco, McKinney. Service all those areas in about 10, 15-mile radius. So yeah, I own a junk removal company. We started in about I would say 2019. We've had some ups and downs. I started working with Blake in like 2021. A lot more ups than downs at this point, but of course, I mean, right now it's January, it's the slow times, but even now we're still doing great. So, really loving this business, to be honest. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's a credit to the work that you've put in. I've seen your transition over the last few years of us working together. And, you know, it says a lot when I can't get you on an interview in January. I know I can't get you in an interview any other month. So we talked about this for months and we said, yeah, we're gonna have to wait till the slow season. So you do a really good job of staying busy and really just taking care of the infrastructure of your business. So I think today some of the things that we'll talk about are going to be helpful for someone who is looking to get to your level or maybe is just feel stuck or brand new, right? Those are the kind of people I'm going to focus on today. To sort of start off with that topic, when you first got started, this was like business was new to you at that point. You're a younger guy, and what are some things that you wish you knew then that you know now? Start out.
Mm, that's a great question. I guess I'll kind of say some things that I wouldn't do if I just started this business off today is one of the biggest things is cheaply marketing. I the very first thing I did when I started so I started on the commercial side of things and started with apartment complexes and stuff like that. The money was great. It was during the COVID times. And then they kind of stopped, so I had to go into the residential areas. And then I started paying for marketing. One of the first things I went into was SEO, and I'm not gonna say any names, but I used the company. I was paying them, I don't remember the exact price at this point, but it was anywhere from $400 to $600 a month. And every single month, I was like, okay, great. And then 12 months later, especially with SEO, that's one of those things that you don't know if it's working, so you have to really trust them. And then like a year and a half later, I saw really no success from it and I stopped using it. 6 months later, we were at the same place with the SEO, so that tells me they weren't doing anything. But anything that has to do with marketing, spend your money on. No, if it's a company you can trust, whether a company you can't, and you have to spend a couple hundred more dollars at the end of the month, it's more than likely worth it. That's the biggest thing that I would say is just don't be cheap on marketing.
Yeah, and I think we're at a point in the junk removal space now where I'm starting to see a few companies are really showcasing themselves, above others and standing out. So, like when you pay attention to the groups, I think there's some really good reputable companies right now in the junk removal space that you can get a good feel for that are doing good work, right?
Hmm.
That you could be a little bit more confident in buying from them. I'm really fortunate to have a good relationship with a lot of my competitors and those guys that I think I value number one, their opinion, they value mine, but I think they really care about the industry as a whole. And it's been sort of neat to see a trend of really kind of like a circle of, competitors who, you know, are looking at it from the concept of, look, we're all in this almost together. We want to help people grow. All
Hmm.
of us have exclusivity, so sometimes we can't help somebody. We'll pass someone on to that person. And I think there's a level now where you can, I'll never say, 100% confidence because nothing's guaranteed in marketing, but you know that there's a few companies out there that are going to do everything in their power to help
Hmm.
you, grow your business and do the right things for you, right? Instead of, come in and do some cheap labor and say, hey, we're doing something and maybe nothing's really happening
Of
behind the
course.
scenes. Okay. So, I think that's a good point. And don't get me wrong, there's been some instances where somebody was paying a little bit less and it was working for them. So I'll never say never.
Hmm.
But a lot of times there's been a lot of people burnt by companies who are usually in a lower echelon of
Yep,
rates when it
I
comes to
agree.
something like SEO. So that's a good point. And honestly, Jonathan, I mean, I'll tell everybody now, you really haven't done a ton of marketing lately. You have been, pretty much organic. We've done marketing together. You and I, we did Facebook ads. We've done a lot of stuff together. Um, but you've really built this out sort of organically and kind of scaled it out and built it out. Um, what are some things that you learned from, let's say kind of going and making that transition? And what was it that really told you like, hey, I'd rather focus organically instead of as much on paid? What kind of forced you to make that pivot, so to speak?
I would say, I mean, you did our Google marketing, you did some of our Facebook as well. Just the cost of leads were getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I was like, there has to be another way. So I started, I mean, yard signs, obviously they're not free, but they're way better price points than like a Google Ads or at least Google Ads. We also it's almost free. I mean, we'll give donuts out to like storage unit places, we'll give donuts out to real estate agents, to hotels, to senior living places, all types of places. All you have to do is you buy a dozen donuts, you give it to them with a bunch of flyers, maybe some coupons, and typically we'll have a really good amount of them that will give us a call back. And if they don't call you back, because we'll drop off to apartments too. Apartments are very cheap in these areas. They won't pay for your services, but they'll at least they want a good company they can trust to hand out your flyers or your coupons to. They don't want to recommend those same cheap guys that are doing the work for them because they know, they don't carry insurances, they don't carry certain things. But yeah, that type of marketing is the return on investment on it is huge. I mean, you're not spending much and you're getting a lot back from it.
Would you
So
say you kind of broke into my next question, which I is interesting enough. I was going to say, what do you think is something that sort of sets you apart? And it sounds like that's something that you would probably, add to that fact, right?
yeah, yeah. So I would say that. I mean, 2 years ago, I remember I was getting to a point where I was ready to quit. It was just spending so much
I
money,
remember.
wasn't making a lot more. I think you remember, you gave me a free month. You were like, come on, man, you can do this. You
Yeah.
motivated me a bunch, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And the biggest thing I was doing wrong is every time I wasn't busy, I was just sitting there and crying. I mean, not literally, but sitting there, crying on my phone, like, hey, why am I not busy? Instead, it's like, it's time to do something about it. Go talk to people, go do what you can. And if at the end of the day, if I would have failed at that point, if I still wasn't making money, all right, it's time to call it quits. But obviously, I'm seeing, something's working.
Yeah. So you would say, obviously, what you mentioned, but also the drive that you have now and sort of what you learned. And
Yes.
that's a big thing. It's it's really easy for us. Times are going to get hard. My business, your business, everybody's business. You're going to have a point where times get hard. It's going to happen a couple different times, not just once. And we kind of sit in this funk where it's just like it's easy to have that woe is me. Oh man, it's saturated. There's no business out there. Like, damn YouTubers. And there's someone out there doing the work that you're trying to do right now. I guarantee it. And there's somebody
Mhm.
looking for what you offer right now.
Yeah,
And it's it's a challenge, but we have to shift our mindset into what have I done to grow this business? Like, what have I done today to move the needle? And this is a daily task, it's a daily thing, on those days that you work. And I promise you, you're going to realize if you ask yourself that question, like if I have like a rough day and I ask myself that question, you know what usually the answer is? I didn't do enough.
hmm
It's
I agree.
very rare if I had a rough day, and I still have rough days. And I'm like, well, what did you do to move the needle? What did you do to grow the business? And I look and I'm like, damn, I really didn't do anything today.
Hmm.
Why?
Yep.
You know? So it's the same for you guys. You really need to focus on what levers you need to pull consistently and stay motivated to do this because the hardest part of it is that one daily action is usually not going to do it. It's a compounding effect,
Exactly.
right? The effects of your actions 2 weeks ago are happening today, right? So, 2 weeks ago, you're probably like, oh, this isn't working. What am I doing? But if you just would have kept doing it,
Blindly trusting the process, basically.
yes. So that's a big part of this. And a lot of the companies who are really successful, man, they do everything. They do everything and they do it and they do it and they do it over and again, right? Because they understand that compounding effect. You know, and they're not looking for the silver bullet or the golden nugget because the golden nuggets are doing the work.
Hmm.
It's just finding out what levers you're pulling and doing them consistently. And I think you've done a good job of that. You've grown organically. You do things to help separate your company yourself. I mean, how many times did you reinvest in the branding in your company? I know at least two or three, I feel like.
I think three.
Yeah.
Um,
Like your
just
company name always stayed the same, but we're talking like logos and
yeah,
stuff like that,
logo. Yeah.
you
And
know?
that's another thing with what I said at the beginning. Don't be cheap with your marketing. The first time I spent like 25 bucks on Fiverr, second time like 100 bucks on something else. I don't even remember. And the last one I paid I'm sure a lot of you know it's Pat Balance. Did a great job. It was a little bit more expensive, but hey, I didn't have to rebrand anymore and I love it. So
Yeah.
it's
Shout out to
definitely
Pat. I don't know if he watches the channel, but a lot of people in the junk removal space know about Pat and his designs. He does a good job.
a great job.
Yeah. So, and that's, I mean, think about that, right? Like that's a big thing. So if you're starting out right now and you're wondering like, well, how important is it, for me to just start and be Blake's junk removal? It's like take some time to build a brand. Take some time to build something that people are going to remember. It's going to make things easier.
Exactly. Exactly.
The best I can't tell you how excited I get when I'm about to run Facebook ads for somebody and they have a cool brand. I'm like, thank you. I have something to work with.
Being unique.
Like I can have fun with this. There's things that we can do. There's videos that we can make. There's a lot of different options at our disposal, right?
Mhm.
It makes it easier, right? It's attractive to the consumer. But you did a good job of that and you refocused and kind of almost reset yourself to a degree. So, we talk about, obviously what you did, what you kind of do on the ground. Is there anything else like guerrilla marketing that you guys do that you think helps you stand out?
None that I can think of other than those. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just consistency.
Yeah,
We're doing it now in January just because we're more dead than ever.
have
But
more time.
I
Yeah,
see a lot of companies that are like, yeah, we'll put out signs when we're dead. We put out signs. I put out signs personally, 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. at night, 12 a.m. in the morning, 1 a.m. in the morning. You know, almost every weekend religiously. I try and put out 15 to 20 per week, uh, whether we're super slammed that week or whether we're not. Hard work pays off and you're going to see it. And like you said, you might not see it that day, you might not see it the next day, you might not even see it that week or that month, but you're going to see it consistently. It's like a snowball.
yeah. Well, we'll circle back. You had mentioned that you like follow up with them, and I felt that was really important because something that comes up a lot for me, when we do our outreach and when I talk about some of the commercial stuff is usually someone will say, "Yeah, well, I got in front of them," and then they kind of leave it at that, right? So you're already noticing something that I noticed where it's, we have to remember that like junk removal and us are not top of mind.
Hmm.
They have a lot of different things going on outside of just junk removal. So sometimes it takes a little bit more of that consistent effort to get back in front of them, right? Even if your first impression was a really good one, right? And you dropped off donuts or something that made them smile, it might take you a second or third bounce back to be like, hey, I had actually filled out a vendor application for you. I was just curious, is there anything else that you need from us for us to
Hmm.
work together? Is there something that we're missing? Have you ran into any issues recently with needing junk removed? Stuff like that, right? So I'm assuming you're doing something pretty similar.
Yeah, I would say nothing on a grand scale, but yes, so we'll choose certain, like, let's say storage units, and we'll go typically twice, at least twice to three times a month, and usually we'll see the same people, but a lot of people don't stay working in those storage units. But if you can create a bond with like the manager, and sometimes the manager there is a manager at five different locations,
Yeah,
and then you
good
hit a
point.
goal and you become friends with them. They'll, give you their work and they'll pass out your cards. They'll tell their employees to pass out your cards. And you just need to consistently do that over and over and over. It's not as easy as said, but it's definitely doable.
That's a good point. 2 points there. One, transitions, right? So different decision makers.
Hmm.
So that's another reason to kind of be a little bit more consistent because the old decision maker didn't tell the new decision maker about you. We know that, right? And then the other point that I love was a decision maker who maybe oversees multiple. because now you have something where you just hit on, yeah, that's kind of your gold mine, right? When you get hit on
Yep.
something like that, if you have a multi-location and you have a relationship you could build, that's huge,
Yep.
right? Um, so definitely some good stuff there. So, almost 5 years in now, that's an accomplishment. You're doing pretty well. You're definitely, one of those junk removal companies that I would say is pretty successful, and you're very consistent. What is a piece of advice as we get ready to wrap up? What's a piece of advice you would give someone who is either brand new or maybe they've been stuck at 10K or below, or maybe like 10 to 15K? What would you say that you would advise them on moving forward to get to the next level or to get going?
Other than use Top Dog.
Cheap plug.
Um,
Everybody's gonna think every time you guys like plug me in here, it's almost awkward for me because I'm like, I promise, like I'm not asking.
I'm not
I
paying them.
appreciate you, man, but
Yeah, of course, of course.
um,
Well, I mean, to me, the biggest one is always be consistent. Find a routine and be consistent with it. And for us, it's whether it's marketing, putting out flyers, signs, be consistent with it. Do a certain amount per week or month, and have systems in place. Like when I first started using you, I felt like a real company. I was using the recurring systems with you guys, following up with those customers every, I think it was 3 months, 4 months, and we still do that. Um,
you
just
do it
have,
yourself now.
yeah, do it
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, boss.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it's
even
it's a
need me
lot easier
anymore.
than it looks, but I mean, it's even better if you do it. But yeah, just have as many systems in place as you can, and again, consistency. Consistency is key.
Yeah. So we'll wrap up with that. All right. So I'm brand new. Trying to be consistent. There's 100 different things that I could be consistent in, right? So
You got to
I
try them
think,
all.
yeah, yeah. I think here's what you need to realize. One is that what Jonathan's doing in his market might not work in yours. So you should be studying your competition and some of what they're doing, and you should be testing out yourself on these things, right? And my advice has been to pick a couple of key areas. I'd start with like maybe two or three. Do them consistently. And I'm talking consistently over the next 30 days to 60 days. Let that compound and see where it gets you and keep building from there and build routines and habits.
Yep.
And it could be anything from some of the stuff Jonathan's doing, yard signs, meeting with realtors, property managers, storage unit companies. It could be posting on your business page and your personal Facebook, right? It could be posting in Facebook groups. It could be meeting locally in BNI groups and stuff. It could be marketing, but you want to have a couple of key levers that you're starting to pull and starting to test, and you want to give them time. Most people who are stuck, from what I've seen over the years that I've done marketing, usually pull the plug really quickly and panic. And even though you tell them that they need more time, they're such in a panic. like like they're almost in like they're paralyzed by the fear of like, man, but if it doesn't work, and they just don't give it enough time.
Yeah, they're scared to lose money, but
Yeah. And it's tough. I get it. I get it. And these things, that's the great thing about some of the things you said. A lot of them don't require a lot of money, right? They can do those things to build up to then get to marketing and have, a threshold. So I agree with that, man. Any last words for anybody on the channel?
use Top Dog.
Well,
No, I mean, again, just be consistent. Like Blake said, it's not even just consistency, but find something that works for you and be consistent at it. Create routines and yeah, no matter what, blindly trust the process as long as like Blake just said, 30, 60 days of doing something consistently and it works, do it for 2 to 3 years now. Trust the process and it's gonna take you to great areas.
yeah, I love it. I couldn't agree more, man. I appreciate you for taking the time to hop on here. You literally ran home to get onto this channel.
Of
So
course,
I'm gonna
man.
let you relax. I know you had a long day. Thanks again for hopping on here, man. And I think everybody's really gonna enjoy some of the stuff you had to say today.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you, Blake, and I appreciate you and your services all the time, and I'll see you around, man. Thank you so
Appreciate you,
much.
brother. Thanks.
All right, bye.